Hello, time for a video. I've got no idea what this video is going to be about. I just feel like I haven't done one in a long time, and because, well, I guess it has been a long time, hasn't it? So I'm a jumper. Do you like it? It's new. My mum got it me for Christmas. To be honest, I think it makes me look a bit like my dad, but hey, you know, I've been slowly turning into my dad ever since, well, the day I was born, I guess. It all happened to you too. So what have I been up to? What have I been doing in the however long it's been? What was the last video I did? It was probably, I did the Fighting Fantasy, the 2017 run of House of Hell back in early November, I think, and then I did another Pokemon video shortly after that. So it's probably been about 3 months or so since my last video. Well, I've been getting into a podcast called It's a Duck Blur. Perhaps you've heard of it. It's the podcast where they... so I can remember the intro to the podcast, where they watch every single episode of the Disney classic 1987 cartoon DuckTales and break it down for you afterwards. Except they've actually finished DuckTales now. They're on to Darkwing Duck. And I'm not fully caught up. I'm about up to the first few episodes of Darkwing Duck. So I've listened through all the DuckTales episodes and I've really been enjoying it. So if you're a fan of like classic Disney cartoons, then it's well worth a watch. It's worth a listen. I even bought a bit of merch. Let me show you. This is cool. He says, Scrodge is dumb, it says. Have a listen to the podcast, you want to understand that reference. That's what I do now. Listen to podcasts and buy merch. That's like half my life. You know, I decided that when it got to the Darkwing Duck episodes, I thought it would be good to like watch along. Because in the DuckTales one, I just listened to Sarah and Michael, they're the hosts, their recap of the episodes, and it was fun, and they explained the episode well enough that you don't have to watch it, you just listen along, and it's fun to listen to those two and like the fun guests that they have on. There was a lot of good guests on. But for Darkwing Duck, I thought, new series, I'm going to watch along, and I couldn't tell you how difficult it is to try and get a hold of something, and this has happened to me a few times recently. In the past year, I got back into anime in a big way, and what I quite like about a lot of anime is the music that goes along with it, and it's been totally hit or miss going on iTunes, whether I've been able to find the intro and ending songs for the anime. It's been like, I'd say a 40% hit rate, and it infuriates me when I'm trying to give someone money, and it's impossible. You know what I mean? Like, I'll search for it online, and then go, oh, it is on iTunes, and then I click on a link, and it says, oh, this isn't available in your iTunes, it's only in the American iTunes, or the Japanese iTunes. So I'm like, well, can I just buy it then? I'm like, no, you can only buy things if they're available in the UK iTunes, otherwise we just don't want your stinking money. And I'm like, oh, man, I guess I have to steal it off the internet. So Darkwing Duck, I thought I'll just buy a DVD. No, I can't. The DVD isn't available over here. So if I wanted to import an American DVD, I could do that. But then, DVDs are region coded, so it'd be a pain in the ass to play it. Why is that? That's another thing that really bugs me. So DVDs out. Like, is it on Amazon Video? No. Is it available on iTunes? No. Whatever. I'll tell you what I didn't do was just type into Google Darkwing Duck torrent. 3 words. Darkwing is 1 word. And then click the first link and the first download, and then it just works straight away, and I'm downloading a torrent as we speak. I'm not doing that, obviously. Whatever. Every time I start to make a video where I don't know what I'm going to talk about right now, I just end up moaning about stuff. So let's try and do something positive. So what I never got around to was doing Game of the Year, and every year when it comes to the end of the year, I have these big plans where I'm like, oh, I'm going to do something of the year, like a full review of the year, all the films I watched this year, and all the games. I'll put it into a nice big video, and should we just do it now, like a month too late? No editing, no effort put into it, it's just me gas bagging on. I'll tell you what, if I wanted to come up with a decent excuse of why I haven't done it yet, it's because Xenoblade Chronicles 2 went and launched on the 1st of December, and it's just this gigantic JRPG, and being like a big fan of JRPGs, I thought this is a serious contender for Game of the Year. I should definitely play this first if I'm gonna make a list, even though it's obvious Persona 5 would be the top of the list. As if Xenoblade Chronicles 2 would be any better than Persona 5. Spoilers, it ain't. Yeah. And although I haven't finished it, I'm like 75 hours in. So I've got a good handle on the game, and to be honest, I'm really enjoying it. Quick review of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's complicated. It's flipping complicated, and you'll have heard this from people before. I heard from a couple of reviews that there are many systems in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and the systems build, and they keep building, so that like 10, 20 hours into the game, you're still getting tutorials. And it's true. And one thing I heard was that the tutorial just pops up like a little bit of text at the bottom of the screen that explains whatever it's explaining. To do a blade combo, you do this. To do a driver combo, you do that, or whatever. And then once you've read that tutorial, that's it. It just goes away. And then there's nothing. There's no option in the menu. You can't review that tutorial. The only way you could review it is to just replay that part of the game, which is impractical, to say the least. So, whatever. So if you're not paying attention, then you can lose yourself pretty easily in this game, or get lost, should I say. But even if you are paying attention, it's that complicated that you can just forget stuff, or at times the game doesn't explain itself so well. Thank God we live in the age of game FAQs, and iPads as well also, because before I had an iPad, if I got stuck on a game, I'd have to like boot up my PC and then connect to the internet through the flipping dial-up connection or whatever, and then load up game FAQs. And that was the day of just writing stuff down in notebooks or printing out long sheets of information like I did for the robot one. Seeing if I've got a printout. Shift all my ironing. Yeah, it's that thing. So there's my printout for when I'm playing Super Robot Wars, so I know what all the stations are. Now that I've got an iPad, that's kind of unnecessary, because I could just flick it on in 1 second, go to Game FAQs, and then type in whatever I'm looking for. And it's so gratifying, by the way, to when you start typing something into Google and it auto-fills the thing. Because you're like, thank Christ I'm not the only person having a problem with this. So like, the setup for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is you've got your guys running around, and the main fighters in the game, the characters, God, I'm great at explaining things, are called drivers, and each driver has a blade connected to it. So there are no like solo characters in the game. All your party are set up, they're partnerships, each and every one. So each character, each driver has at least one blade assigned to them. And the blade that you're assigned to, that you're linked up to, it provides you with all your special attacks and that. So by switching blades, you're switching up your moveset. Now each blade, God almighty, has what's called an affinity chart. And you'd be familiar with this kind of thing if you've played RPGs before, you know, like the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X, or the whatever it's called from Tales of Xillia. Whatever, you know, like it's a little diagram with nodes on it, and each node represents like a little power-up, or this one powers up your moves, this one gives you a little skill in the field, and so far. And each node has little conditions to fill up to expand the affinity grid and power up your blade, right? God, I'm great at explaining stuff. And some of the nodes will say something like, perform a driver combo 4 times. And I was like, what is a driver combo? So I type into Google XC2, which stands for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, obviously. You don't want to be wasting your time typing out full words. XC2, what is a D? And as soon as I get to what is a D, it autofills, what is a driver combo? What the hell is that? So I'm like, thank Christ I'm not the only person. Anyways, I've done that a fair few times with Xenoblade Chronicles. And as long as you're happy to do that, and it sinks in eventually, I'm to the point where I've pretty much 70 hours it's took me though, where I'm pretty much okay with all the systems, and I'm flicking through. I mean, the controls are a bit weird, I think. So here we have the Joy-Con. I'm pre-programmed for 20 odd years. I forgot how old I was the other day, you know. I was walking along down the street with my mate, I was chatting about something, and I thought I was 31 years old. I'm 32. I can't believe I just forgot. I'm getting to the age where I forget how old I am. Anyways, so I've been pre-programmed by like 20 odd years of RPGs that to open the menu with all your items and your status screen and all that lot, it's X, right? Or it's the top button there, triangle. That's what opens the menu, or in some weird game, circle. In Xenoblade, if you press X, it takes you to the map screen for so you can do your quick travelling around the world. I can't get out of the habit of pressing that top X or triangle button to thinking it will open up the menu, and every time I go, oh god, it didn't open up the menu, and I press the button to go back, and then press the start. iPad crapped out after recording for 10 minutes. I literally can't believe it. Where was I? Oh yeah, start button used for opening up the main menu. Literally can't get used to it. But to be honest, that's like my big gripe about the game, and the rest of it I'm really liking. I quite like the fact that the systems are complicated, besides the fact that I have to do a few Google searches every now and then to get my bearings. So it's only a small problem in light of this like complex and ultimately rewarding game that they've built. But as I say, not Game of the Year. I don't even think it's Nintendo Switch Game of the Year. That should come as no surprise that it's Breath of the Wild, closely followed by Super Mario Odyssey, I think, and even more closely followed by Xenoblade Chronicles. But just about in there is Breath of the Wild. I really like it. What I like about Breath of the Wild especially is that there are a sea of these kind of open world games out there. You know, you're like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Mad Max. And this really is Nintendo's first kind of shot at this kind of game. And it's like they've just taken every single element, all those things about climbing towers and looking out and sorting things out on your map and foraging for resources and cooking and methods of getting around, you know, like traversal around this map and a sense of place in the world, and you know what I mean, like just exploring the world and discovering new areas and that kind of thing. They took all these kind of established standards of this genre that's been going for years, and they've just gone, look, this is how you do it. We're Nintendo, this is how you do it. And it's amazing, and you'll have heard a million people say the same thing, but it's true. I was talking to my mate Dale the other day, and the only complaints I have of Zelda is two things that come up. One, they should have streamlined the cooking a little bit, I think. I quite like the getting the ingredients and you put them in, you gather them up like one by one in your arms, and then you put them in the pot and watch them cook, and then boop, and then it comes out. But I feel like you should only have to do that one time, and then what Link needs is a recipe book, so that once you've discovered a recipe, it just gets added into the book, and then you should be able to open up the book and see a list of the things you've made and be able to just select them, just click on them, and if you've got the ingredients, you should just do it instantly. Ding, like that. If you could streamline the cooking, that'd be amazing. Please update. And the other thing I didn't like was if I opened a treasure chest and it was a weapon, and if my weapon stash was full, because what they would do would look in it and go, oh, it's a weapon, I've already got 10 swords, and they close the chest and walk away. So you have to open up the menu, look through your weapons, find out which is the worst one, compare it to the one that's in the chest, and you're like, yeah, I think so. Just chuck it away somewhere and it's not going to make a mess. Then open up the chest again, then he adds it into his inventory, and I felt like I was doing that every 10 minutes. So that was it. But that's it again. It's like what I was saying about Xenoblade. Not a big deal in the scheme of things. A game I played for like 100 hours, and that's all I've got to say negatively about it. Everything else, from the way it plays, the way it looks, the way it sounds, it's just gorgeous through and through. So that's my Switch game of the year, 2017. It's now February 2018, mid-February. If you think I've started talking more quietly, that's because I think the rest of my family's gone to bed. I don't want to wake them up. Overall game of the year is Persona 5. It has to be. My word. What I do now, I get about 6 weeks holiday off work. I tend to book them in like 2-week chunks. And so what I tend to do is book a couple of weeks, and then at the start of my holiday I pick a game that I'm going to play through, because otherwise I'll never get through it, and it's usually a big one. And last year, I can't remember what time of year it was, but I had 2 weeks off work. I looked at what I had and I thought, now's the time to play Persona 5, and basically that's all I did for 2 weeks. And you've played Persona 5, it's 100 hours, and the way the game's set out, that's just how long it takes. There's no real way to speed it up unless you're just skipping through all the dialogue. It just takes 100 hours. And it deserves every single minute of it. It's kind of unbelievable that a game that lasts that long is constantly sort of introducing new stuff. The story is engaging throughout. There's never a point in the story where you're like, I don't really care what's going on, or I just want to get through this bit and maybe the next bit will be more interesting. It's all good for 100 hours. It's unbelievable. And when I say the story is good, it's so engaging. I mean, I thought it was engaging anyway. I cared about every single character. I could understand what was happening the whole time, which is a big deal for me. If I ever get to a point in a game, this happens in Tales games quite a lot, because half the plot in Tales games is just made up words and nonsense, and I just forget what's going on, and I forget who's doing what and why. In Persona, I felt like I understood what was happening all the way through, and I cared about what was happening to the characters, and that's such a big deal. And I don't know why it's so hard for games and to get it right and to keep me engaged, but somehow Persona got it right, and yes. I'm not, even though it's been out for ages, I'm reluctant to talk any specifics about it, because you should play it. If you've any interest in RPGs at all, Japanese or otherwise, do play Persona 5, find a way. I believe it's available on PS3 as well, so you should be able to get it for a song, I'm sure. Yeah, so that was my game of the year. By the end of it, I wrote in my diary, I was like, I love Persona 5 more than my family. It's amazing. It is. When I played Persona 4, by the time I reached the end of the game, I felt like I'd made friends, like actual friends, somehow. And same again with Persona 5. What a game. What else did I play on the PS4 this year that I really liked? I finally got around to playing The Witcher 3 in 2017. My ill-fated podcast. That was good, but that's like a 2015 game, isn't it? Horizon Zero Dawn I played as well. Excellent. What I liked about Horizon Zero Dawn, I liked a lot of it. I especially liked the creature designs, which went a long way towards my enjoyment of it. I liked the robot animals. There was something really, really cool about them. And I liked. It was essentially Horizon Zero Dawn. I have to break it down. It's almost like a hunting simulator. That's how I describe the gameplay. As sometimes you even say, is it a beat 'em up, is it a fighting game, is it whatever. Horizon Zero Dawn is a hunting game. So you're tracking these animals. Tracking maybe not so much. But you have to learn about your prey, and it matters what weapons you use. It's not like in Assassin's Creed where it gives you like a sword and an axe and a dagger and a whatever, and it doesn't matter because you just take everyone out using the hidden blade anyway, and who cares. Horizon Zero Dawn gives you 4 or 5 weapons, and you better choose wisely. Depending on which opponent you're going up against, it matters what you're doing. Strategy is important in the game. You can't just ignore an aspect. You can't just say, like, traps, I can't be bothered with them, and ignore him, because you'll have a rough time of it if you're not making use of all your resources, which to me is the sign of a very cleverly designed game, and that's what Horizon Zero Dawn is to me. And also, it's a thrilling game. I get hooked into it. There's a point where after the initial area, which is kind of wooded, you pass through a certain area, like a big gate, and then you go into this area that looks like the Wild West. It's like a desert with these huge mountains and canyons in it and stuff. In fact, when I first looked at it, it looked like a background. It didn't look like a place you could go to. It looked like a piece of artwork. But then I realised you could travel into these valleys and that, and it's a real place in the world. And when I got in there, I felt like I was just over my head, like I couldn't believe. There's these robots, I think they were called tramplers or something, like big bison or buffalo or whatever, the huge horns on the front of them. and one of them spotted me, and I crapped my pants. It just charged towards me, and I got wrecked. I was like running, and then the glint hawks, the flying ones, they spotted me, and it was just one thing after another, and I was just running and running and running, trying to find a safe place to rest, you know, like, because I couldn't, like, it didn't have all these new robots that were completely new to me. I had no strategy for taking them on. I tried a few things, but it just wasn't working. So I just had to run and run, and then I found like a river. I'm like, right, so I'll escape through the water. The tramplers can't follow me there. But there was these huge flipping crocodiles that I totally wasn't expecting. And they bit my damn head off. And I swear to God, my heart was pounding. And that's the kind of thrill a good game can deliver. 10-minute chunks, that's just the way it has to be, apparently. So that was Game of the Year. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, on the topic of games, and Nintendo as well in particular, they recently announced the Nintendo Lab, or Labo, whatever. I'm sure you've seen it by now. So it's these construction kits that Nintendo have assembled. You're going to have to assemble them yourself. That work in conjunction with the Nintendo Switch hardware to do a variety of interesting things. And I keep seeing, like, I've watched a few like reviews and opinions about this announcement. So basically all people have got to talk about at the moment is the trailer. And the thing that I keep hearing over and over again, and it's winding me up no end, is like, oh, it's cardboard. I can't believe Nintendo have released some cardboard. What do you expect us to pay for cardboard? Cardboard. It's not cardboard, is it? It's not. I mean, it's made of cardboard. I feel that's a really important distinction. You're not paying for a piece of cardboard. I've got some cardboard here, look. There you go. There's some cardboard. Right, if I was to hand this to you now, I can block out all the light. If I was to hand this piece of cardboard to you and then say, could you please just make a working piano out of that which incorporates the Nintendo Switch hardware? How long would it take you? I'm willing to say it would take you an indefinite amount of time. You wouldn't be able to do it, would you? You just wouldn't. You're not paying for the cardboard. You're paying for the software, and two, the ingenuity of the person who has designed these sort of incredible contraptions and figured out how to make them work and how to package them in a way that they can be flat packed onto sheets of cardboard that I'm guessing anyone could assemble, even young children. They'll be cleverly designed in such a way that even kids will be able to assemble these extremely complex looking things. And the fact that they work as well, it's just kind of incredible. Don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely not going to buy it because it's not for me, but it's kind of ingenious. I mean, the moment in the trailer where I realised Nintendo were onto a winner here is it was the house. Yeah, I have no idea what the hell that is, but you put the house together and you insert the Joy-Cons and it does stuff. You press the button and it does a thing, and who cares? By the way, if that is incorporated into some kind of Animal Crossing game, they're insane, right? The point I realised Nintendo's on to winner it is where they bust out the crayons and they start colouring it in. I'm like, oh my god. This is like, whoever designed this is so smart. It's just that one extra step. It's like, it does all this, and also customise it, do whatever you want. This is going to be appealing, not just to the people who it's for, like for kids to be. This is appealing for the people who are buying the thing for the people it's for, because they look at it and they see something that looks creative and inventive and uses your mind a bit, you know. Oh man, it's everything that old people think video games aren't, if you know what I mean. You know, I see it all the time when you see old people talk about video games and they're like, oh, it doesn't seem to be very much about the imagination. Why don't you read a book? As if it's one or the other, you know. As if you play video games, you could just never read a book, which is a toss. And And video games are so, and what winds me up about that is that video games are so about the imagination. It's unbelievable. It depends what you're playing. Anyways, like Minecraft. Like, if you have no imagination, there's no game there. You just like stood there going, "What do I do?" You have to rely on your imagination to prompt you to move you forward to do something. If you have no imagination, you can't play. You basically can't play it. There's nothing there for you. Anyways, I can get on my high horse about video games all day. Point is, I think Nintendo are very smart with this Nintendo Labo thing. The only question now is, can they market it in a way that people will understand, and can they find the people that it's for? Which, it's not for me. You know what I mean? It just isn't. I don't know, maybe if I had a kid or something. But, no. But good on him anyways, good on him. And I think that's about it. What was I thinking of? What else have I been playing recently? I've pretty much Xenoblade Chronicles. I finally got around to playing Superhot the other day. That's that shooter with their time only moves when you move and you're shooting a bunch of red guys. Excellent. I thought it was a really fun game, although I did not. It's just me just like poking holes in great games. So I didn't like was the menus. There's like 20 things on the menu and it's not clear what any of them do. I don't want to go on game FAQs just to figure out what the options on the menu do. Like, I'm not interested. Like, this does this, whatever. Just press the top one that starts the game, sort of, and it's just an endless text. Typey. We control you. Yes, very clever, very clever. Who cares? The game itself is fantastic. But, my God, I don't know why. Why they decided they would have a really ugly and confusing menu just to be slightly off-putting. It's like, we can't. It's like, to be credible, we have to be slightly off-putting. There's nothing wrong with being accessible and straightforward. Whatever. Is that just me? That was just like a little bit on the end where I just shit on Superhot for no reason. It's great, I really like it. Whatever. I like these rambly videos. There's literally no effort in them whatsoever. I just hit start and go blah 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 and talk about whatever's on my mind. The only effort is I can record in 10-minute chunks on my iPad. I'll have to delete some crap on there. I don't know what I've got on there. I've got Dragon Quest 3. It's been sat on there for years. I had a Tumblr at one point where it was the 25th anniversary of Dragon. It was the 30th anniversary of Dragon Quest, 25, 30, whatever. It was a big anniversary of Dragon Quest. So that was when that was, and I was going to play through every Dragon Quest game, and I got through the first two games, and then up to like a couple of hours into Dragon Quest 3, and I went, this is enough Dragon Quest. I've been thinking I'll be doing that again. I've also got a whole lot of digital comics on there. This is the problem with me. When I start getting into something, I think I'm going to be into it for a lot longer than I actually am. So I buy a whole bunch of stuff. It's like I played one of the Hyperdimension games on the Vita. I'm like, this is a nice little RPG, you know what I mean? It's nothing special really, but it works nice. It's got some cute character designs and it sort of moves along. And they had a big in Japan sale on the PSN at the time, so I just bought like every game in the series. I'm like, I'm in here for the long haul. By the time I finished that first game, I was done. That's it. Nah. And then I've got like 6 more of them just sat there. Who knows if I'm ever going to play them? Probably not. But I do that all the time. I do it with comics. So like when I start getting into digital comics, I'm going to be reading comics forever. I'll buy all of Sandman, all of Fables, all of Why the Last Man and all this lot. I read Sandman. By the time I finished that, I was like, I'm done with comics for a little bit, so all of Fables is just sat there. Why the Last Man is just sat there. A lot of, I'm trying to think what else I bought now. I bought a bunch of Black Science, a bunch of Ghosted, The Bunker, Nailbiter, some Marvel and DC stuff there. A lot of the Marvel Now stuff. Mind you, that's really good actually. The Superior Spider-Man I thought was amazing. God, once I start rambling, I will never stop. I should split these up into separate videos if I've learned anything. I've not learned anything. I don't have a clue how YouTube works. I put up one video every 6 months, do a game of the year for 2017, halfway through February 2018. Thanks for watching anyways. See you next time, whenever that is.